This is truly, ladies and gentlemen, a monumental year for kids and parents in the state of Oklahoma. We also have some parents with us around the state. I think they're over here in the back. Thank you guys for joining us today. In my State of the State address, I asked the House and the Senate to take this opportunity of a lifetime to rethink and reimagine the future of education in the state of Oklahoma. And that's really what they did. That's what we're celebrating today. We delivered the most transformative education reform, we believe, in state history. We are truly transforming the way that we will educate kids in Oklahoma for future generations. During this past year, and especially during the pandemic, I heard from so many parents who felt trapped. All they wanted was the option to send their kids to school in person. Now, Oklahoma students and parents will never again be denied the chance to go to the school that best fits their needs. And I'm so proud. We also have Secretary of Education here, Ryan Walters, and really everyone who worked together to get this across the finish line. So as your governor, I will always put the needs of parents and students first in the state of Oklahoma. So thank you so much for all of your leadership, and I'll now turn it over to Speaker McCall.
Governor, appreciate that very much. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I have served in this body for 9 years, and we've seen a lot of challenges in the state of Oklahoma. There are several in this room today that served with me during the 56th legislature, where after 2 constitutional sessions, 2 special sessions, we came together to make an historic investment in education in the state of Oklahoma. Today, we come together to recognize another historical event. You know, the challenge with great policy in a state is finding policy that works everywhere in the state of Oklahoma. And in my remarks this year to the House of Representatives, I said that was what we were going to focus on, making sure that we have policy that works everywhere for students and parents, regardless if they live in urban Oklahoma, suburban Oklahoma, or rural Oklahoma. And the culmination of these 2 pieces of legislation fall right into that vein. With open transfer, whether you live in rural Oklahoma or in an urban or suburban area, you have policy that empowers parents to find the right school, the right fit, and the best outcome in their opinion. It empowers them to make that decision. And that is truly historic, because oftentimes when we are up here talking about and considering policy, there are unintended consequences based upon geography of where you may reside and where you choose to reside in this state. I'm especially proud of this policy because it is considerate to everybody in the state of Oklahoma, regardless of where they choose to live. And with the funding mechanism, we ensure that those dollars follow that student quicker, and that the schools that are educating our students receive the compensation for the education. I'm very happy to work with Governor Stitt, Pro Tem Greg Treat, my colleagues in the House and in the Senate. We've spent a lot of time. We have worked on this policy of many, many hours to come up with a great policy that serves the people of the state of Oklahoma. And so today, I'm honored to be here and to represent my legislative branch along with the governor and the executive and my colleague and peer in the Senate, President Pro Tem Greg Treat. And at this time, Mr. Pro Tem, if I've left you anything else to say, the podium is all yours, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Speaker. This is truly a big day, and it's a big day in many ways. But it feels a little bit like stolen valor standing and having the mic, because so many people in my chamber and in your chamber and on your team did so much of the heavy lifting. And I want to acknowledge Senator Zack Taylor, Senator Adam Pugh, Senator Kim David, and Senator Brenda Stanley, who worked tireless hours during the interim, coming up with idea after idea and coming to fruition. You know it's a big day when bills pass off the floor and the governor has them on his desk ready to sign by that afternoon. Thank you for your leadership in this as well, bringing this to the attention of the state. It means a lot to parents and students all across the state. We truly put parents and students first with the legislation today, and it's crazy. These are common sense things that most Oklahomans think probably was already happening, that the money should follow that student more quickly, that people shouldn't be counted 2 or 3 times in the formula and dilute the money for the students in the classroom. These are common sense reform, but you can see how monumental it is to get common sense reform in, and it took real leadership from those people that I mentioned. I appreciate Secretary Walters and his work in it. I appreciate his confirmation hearing yesterday, where he was calm, cool, collected, humble but confident, and he is making a tremendous advisor to you, Governor. You made an excellent choice there. We're excited to confirm him in short order, and without further ado, Senator Walters, you come up here and address him too. You stood all the way over there. You wanted the walk-up. We're going to have walk-up music for you. Huh? Did I call him Senator? Well, that was a big deal.
I will be very quick. You all said it so well, and I just really wanted to say 2 things. First of all, the leadership here, I have so appreciated getting to work with each one of you, and I think Oklahoma students should hear a resounding, you matter. You matter. You need the opportunity to attend the school of your choice, and you should have that investment and that funding follow you where you choose to go to school. And I heard that time and time again with this leadership here, with the legislative leaders in both the House and the Senate. It was a conversation that focused around kids. What was best for kids? How do we invest in kids? And I just want to tell you all, I thank you so much as a parent, as a teacher, to have this type of leadership in the state that emphasized our young people. So thank you for your leadership on this issue. And thank you, Governor Stitt, for your leadership. And you said from the beginning that we were going to put students first, and that's been the vision you've cast. And I so appreciate your leadership on this issue too. So thank you all for all of your hard work on this issue.
Keep the streak up.
We can open it up to a few questions. Who wants that? You know, for all the reasons that we said in the press conference, we think this is makes sense legislation that puts has the money following the student. The 1 year, it's a 1 year and 9 week look back instead of a 3 year look back, or 2 years and 9 weeks look back. We think the parents, if everybody heard those calls that came to my office from parents that were in a school district that didn't have an option for in-person, that would have loved to have transferred to another school so their kids could have an in-person option, that's all we're allowing them to do. It's make sense legislation, and I'm not going to speak to why some people oppose the legislation. You'd have to ask them for their comments on why they think it's wrong. But we've got plenty of parents here, plenty of kids around the state that are really, really excited to have this option now. For kids get bullied, kids want AP classes, kids want a better ag program. There's a multiple amount of reasons. We're not going to get into all the reasons, but giving parents choices about where to send their kids to schools just makes a lot of sense to all of us here. Anybody have any comments on that?
If I could make just a couple of general comments. I am very appreciative of those in the House who actually worked through the language on that particular bill. I know for a fact that they worked with all the stakeholders to try to come up with a package that was agreeable among everybody. And at the end of the day, the bill that crossed the line, there were some concessions made. Everybody in the legislature worked with the stakeholders in education. The first version of the draft of the approach was not exactly, well, it was not the bill that we ultimately passed. But at the end of the day, we took everybody's input into consideration, I believe, and those who drafted the bill directly in our body, Representative Hilbert, Representative Boles, Chairwoman Baker, were all involved, and want to applaud their work and effort. But everybody was considered in this process, and that's the way that it should be.
Go ahead.
Thank you for that question. And yeah, so the local school districts will actually get to set their own capacity. And then if transfer requests exceed that capacity, they will have the opportunity to deny the transfers.
Why was it so important that they passed so quickly this year? And as you mentioned a moment ago, signing so quickly.
Well, yes, they moved quickly this week, but this process has been a long process. This is not a new topic for Oklahomans or the Oklahoma legislature. When you look at this, really, we've been talking about this at the Capitol for a decade, of how do you make the money more closely follow the student. While it may appear quick, and that was one of the criticisms I was responding to in my debate, this took years and months of planning, the culmination of which you saw today. But the speed this week was we had an agreement. It is a tremendous reform, and parents and students can't wait any longer to be able to be in charge of their own education.
Thanks, everybody. Real quick, sorry, real question, Charlie. I thought you were done. I thought I might ask. The state,
That was so awesome.
there is some concern in the aftermath of the State Board of Education about what that means in local districts, whether it's et cetera, et cetera. There is a rumor going around that the legislature is considering some sort of action in the wake of that, maybe regarding virtual purchases. Either of you gentlemen believe the comment on what you might be looking at.
Sure, I'll go first.
I'll let you go first, yes. I didn't think he was done with the question.
Thank you for the question, Trace. I think it's important to point out that the Board of Education's actions, we talk a lot in this building about separation of powers, and that's, that is a board within the executive branch of government. Yes, every time something happens in government, our body, if we hear something from a constituent, we gather the information and we take a look at it. We are looking at that action. We are not completely sure that we have all the information, but that is something that we are taking a look at in the House and will weigh appropriately. And so I think you'll continue to hear more about that in next week's come. Perhaps.
Grace, it's the first I've heard of this. I didn't know this was an issue. No, well, yeah, we are diligently reviewing it. There are differences between various charter schools. As you know, many charter schools do have a brick and mortar presence, and it makes sense to treat kids equally. Where you have virtual in a true virtual setting, we need to contemplate, should they get the same treatment on ad valorem and transportation? My personal opinion is that we should separate out between virtual charter schools and the more traditional model of brick and mortar. I've been in conversations across the state on it, but our caucus is well aware of the issue and is digging into it to get more details.
Well, number one, we will invest more in education this year than any time in state history. That's number one. This doesn't go into effect for another year. It gives plenty of school districts time to plan. Even with the way the current system worked, they had a 2-year and 9-week look back. This won't go into effect. If they had declining enrollment, they have plenty of time to plan. So that was the argument that they had, is this wouldn't give them plenty of time to plan. So the great authors here on that bill made sure we took that into account. No school district should be caught off guard. This just makes sense legislation. Like Pro Tem Treat said, most people thought that this is the way it should have been all along, and just so proud of the team here behind us.
Great job.
Great job, man. You did a good job.